What's going on, guys? There are a ton of new AI tools popping up every single day. There's so many game-changing things you can do with these tools, whether it's saving you time or generating some super creative rendition based upon your original footage. I think there's so many possibilities for adding AI visual effects into your workflow. I'm gonna make it all easy for you guys in this video. So today I'm gonna show you my favorite AI tool for creating videos, Stable Diffusion Img2Img. Before, I made videos using Google Collab Sheets to create these AI effects. Well, unfortunately, Google Collab removed their free membership tier, so this is a great alternative. I'll show you how to download Stable Diffusion on your computer for free. I'll show you how to use their web-based GUI, super easy. You don't need to do any coding. It's really just changing sliders and typing in prompts. And then I'll show you how to take those AI process videos and create crazy animations, mixing your AI work with After Effects tools. By the way, if you're looking for any plugins, presets, extensions to save you time and create cool effects, my digital asset store is at the top of the description. So before I dive in and show you how to install, how to set everything up, let me show you some examples of what you can do when you pair these AI visual effects with your Adobe After Effects workflow. So this is Enigmatic E. He made some really cool videos using Disco Diffusion, Google Collab Sheets. Again, I've talked about that in the past. And whenever you combine in what the AI dreams together with After Effects, you can really composite together some insane looking effects like you're seeing here. Here's another great example using masking, using alpha mats to wipe away and show you the AI dreamed world, which you can process from those Google Collab Sheets. So Enigmatic E also has a YouTube channel where he gave a tutorial on doing this with those Google Collab Sheets if you'd like to check that out. Again, unfortunately, Google Collab is no longer free. They make it pay to play now. A lot of people are looking to free alternatives, myself included. That's where I found Stable Diffusion. So I'm gonna show you how to install this for free, but first, let me just show you some amazing things you can do with this. So this is Scott Leithiser, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he's using Stable Diffusion to take this test footage of himself speaking here and leveraging it to create some really amazing things. In this case, he's only processing one frame and then using Ebsynth to actually paste that frame onto the rest of the video. Another great AI tool, which I've talked about a bunch in the past. So we'll touch on that a bit later. You can use this workflow with Ebsynth and this Stable Diffusion, which we're gonna show you, to create all these crazy VFX shots where it looks like there's makeup, there's expensive VFX, there's prosthetics. This is all done just using normal footage and AI processing. That just goes to show you how useful this tool can be for an indie filmmaker, for someone creating music videos. I think this is game changing. I think we can see a lot of really cool things here. So a couple more examples. This is a music video using Stable Diffusion AI, taking some royalty-free footage from pexels.com, running it through that Stable Diffusion and getting some really nice results here. This is common sense made simple. Now here's him taking a shot of him just looking around and then applying Stable Diffusion onto it, and he's showing you the different things you can create with Stable Diffusion. This is oil on canvas. He has some ambient occlusion, which I think just looks amazing. All these crazy horror-esque oil painting effects. Here's watercolor and then pencil sketch. Whole bunch of different things. I'm super excited. So let's hop in and show you how to install this on your own computer and get it up and running. So the steps I'm going to show you for the install, I learned from AI Entrepreneur, and this guy has been pumping out extremely useful videos for the AI community, showing you Stable Diffusion, showing you Dream Booth, which is the AI system Corridor crew used in their most recent upload. Super cool. So I highly recommend this guy, especially this video here showing you how to install in a very simple way. So I'll link his channel below. To summarize what he's saying in this video, you essentially need to download 3 things, and one of those 3 things is actually optional. So the first thing you need to download is Python. So go and scroll down here once you've clicked that link and get the Windows or Mac installer. Very important, make sure when you do install Python, you add the Python path so that everything will work correctly. Then download Git, and this is optional. If you don't want to download Git and clone the repository, you could always just go over to the link that he provides in the description, and you can just download the zip file straight from here. Next, what you need to do is download the dependencies folder AI Entrepreneur provides, and this is extremely useful. It makes the install super easy. So go to the Google Drive link he provides and go ahead and download this. Now all you have to do once you've extracted both of those zip folders, we can take this model.ckpt file and we'll click Control X. We'll hop into the Stable Diffusion Web UI folder. We'll go to the models folder here. We'll go into Stable Diffusion, and you'll see it says put Stable Diffusion checkpoints here. So right here we can click Control V and we're good to go. So to actually fire it up, you always want to go and use the web UI user batch file. So make sure you remember that every time you want to use this, use the batch file, double click on it here and it'll fire up. So after a few seconds, it'll give you this running on local URL here. All you have to do is copy this, click Control C, and then paste that into a web browser. Easy as that. Zero coding. Like I said, it may seem a little bit confusing to you guys who have zero knowledge into the world of GitHub and coding and Python and things like that. But trust me, if I can learn how to do this, you can too. It's very simple. And once you do, you should have a page like this. So you have text to image here, you have image to image, and these are the two main ones we're going to be using, especially image to image. Text to image is your standard AI where you can type in a prompt. So we can say Lord of the Rings portrait and generate, and it's going to generate something out of your prompt. Again, standard prompt to image generation, pretty cool. Now let's go to image, and this is what we're going to be using for our video AI creations, the thing I'm most excited about. What we need to do here is we need to get a video image sequence. So to do that, I'm going to use Adobe After Effects. So I found some royalty footage here. I went in After Effects and I just created a new 1920 by 1080 composition. And then you can drag in whatever footage you're trying to do here. Now I will say, if you want the best possible results, try and choose footage that doesn't have too much going on. For example, this here, there's a man, there's trees in the background, that's it. There's good lighting, there isn't too much motion blur, there isn't too much craziness flying around. Whenever you have a complicated scene with bad lighting, with a lot of things going on, it's gonna be hard for the AI to process that image and really understand what it needs to recreate. Once you have your footage that you think will work well, ready to go, we need to convert this from a video to an image sequence. And that's super easy. We're gonna go to File, Export, and Add to Render Queue. So all you need to do is click on your output module here, and we'll change the format from AVI over to PNG sequence. And then just choose where you like to output this. So because this is gonna be a PNG sequence, there's gonna be a ton of files. I recommend what you guys do is create a new folder here. So we'll create a new folder and I'll name this video to image sequence. And then you double click in here. You can keep the file name default or name it something like video, and then click save and then render. Let's hop back over to Stable Diffusion. And here's what you should get after you've rendered from After Effects, a bunch of PNG files. This is every frame from your video rendered out, as you can see. So let's go ahead and take the first frame here and just drag it into our image to image right here. So what you want to do first is you want to tell Stable Diffusion to interrogate this and figure out what's going on in this image that you dropped in. So simply go up and click the interrogate button, and you're going to see it loading, and soon you should see a little prompt of what's going on in your scene. Now, if this takes too long, it means that the AI is struggling to figure out what's going on. So keep that in mind. As you can see, it only took a couple of seconds and we now have this prompt popping up. So it says a man in a white shirt and blue tie holding his hand up in the air with a tree in the background. Close enough. Let's go ahead and click generate and just see what it thinks this prompt looks like based on the generation. And as you can see, very funny, but we can get closer. So first, let's fix the aspect ratio of our generation. We're going to try and make it match our sequence here, and that should help a bit. So we'll just take the width, and you see you have this nice kind of red bar. Take the height and just pop it up like that. So 960 by 576, and we'll regenerate. All right, so a bit closer in terms of the composition of everything, but we need to make some differences here. So first off, let's scroll down, and we'll talk about some of these settings that you can tweak. You want to check on restore faces always. And then for your seed, you never want to keep it random because we're creating a video output. We want all of our generations to be as similar as possible. So I'll just type in some random numbers so we have a fixed seed. Now for your script here, you want to click and you want to change this to image alternative test. Once you have that open, you can make things run a bit faster by changing these around. So I like adding a bit more decode CFG scale and a bit less steps. So something like 30. And now let's go ahead and click generate. All right, so let's maybe make this 1.1 and let's scroll back up here. And we're starting to get a bit closer after changing those settings. Now, something to keep in mind here, details matter. So for example, whenever our prompt says a man in a white shirt, if you want it to be exactly similar to your image here, you need to be a bit more precise. So we can say an old Asian man and let's generate that. And the key thing here to keep in mind is you want to try and make your generated image as similar to your original image as possible before we start adding in those crazy changes to the style. That'll give you the best possible results, and it'll work the best if you are going to rotoscope or mix these into After Effects later on to create different animations. So let's scroll down here, and this is going to be the two main settings that you're going to play around with: your CFG scale and your denoising strength. How strongly the image should conform to the prompt. Lower values produce more creative results. Denoising strength determines how little respect the algorithm should have for the image's content. So essentially, if you want it to be super stylistic, you can crank up the denoising strength. If you want it to be more in line with the original image, you can take this and put it down to something like 0.35. And there you go. Now it's very similar to the original image that we've created. And this is a great starting point for adding in some creative application to this. So let's go up here and copy this original prompt that we used. And we're going to scroll down and we're going to paste this into the original prompt for this script. And then we'll scroll back up and let's go ahead and start messing around and creating some unique stuff. What we can do is type in anime art style and click generate. Now you see, once you've done that, nothing changes. And that's because whenever you want something that has a drastically different style, you want to play around with your denoising strength. So you remember we lowered it before to make it closer to the original image. Well, we can do the inverse now, and we could give this something like 0.6, and then we can take our CFG scale and give it something like 20 and generate that and see what it gives us. So we're starting to look a bit more hand-drawn, but not exactly what we wanted before. Let's start messing around with some of these negative prompts. And this is a great way to remove things from your image that you don't want to see. So you can put in things like blurry, blown out, maximalist, grain, things you don't want to see in your final image, and we can regenerate and it should clean everything up a bit, and already starting to look a lot better. So let's crank this up to 0.8 maybe, and you can see just from doing that, it completely goes into the dreaming end and strays away from the original image. So you really need to find a perfect balance by playing with these settings, by messing with your prompts. It's always going to differ depending on your image that you are using, what you're trying to make. So keep that in mind. You can always add into this so we can be a bit more detailed, say like Studio Ghibli, Kung Fu, Ambient Occlusion, and generate. So looking pretty good, especially in the hair and the clothing. Definitely looks a bit more animated. Let's keep fixing this up. Say for example, you don't want this tie going in here that's generating from the prompt. You can type in necktie into negative prompts and it should remove that. Let's add in some more prompts here. Cartoon, Disney. So it does take some experimentation. I recommend you guys play around with this until you find what you like best. But look at the difference we were able to create from this image into this image. You guys are able to create fully animated images, videos, which I'll show you in a bit. I do want to give you a bit more useful tips for this process when it comes to creating the best possible output image. So if you're ever stuck on what to write for your prompt, what you want to create, how you want to change this image, you could always go and look up some AI text to image prompts. That'll give you image examples as well as the prompts you could type in. So say for example, you want to kind of steal a style. It's not going to work perfectly with every single image. Again, it depends on your input image, but these are super useful and I've been having a ton of fun just seeing what it's going to look like by copy and pasting prompts. So let's just copy and paste this in here. Now, if you want, you can just completely delete everything you had before and put this in and see what happens. It's just going to apply this prompt onto the original. But keep in mind, if you do remove your original prompt here, it may differ a lot. So you see, it could change around the character here. If you still want to keep the main components, like for example, old Asian man in there, you need to keep that in your prompt. So let's regenerate, is go in here and mess with your settings once you've applied that. So maybe it's too stylized for the AI's liking, be your own, or you take inspiration from other prompts to find the style you want and get something really cool. You're not generating something from scratch based on your prompt. You're generating something based on the data of your input image. So it's going to take the prompt it gives you and it's going to apply that style to all of the data, all of the objects, all of the background, the foreground from the input. I'll show some examples on the screen here of other really cool things I've been doing. Again, play around with your settings until you have everything perfect. Once you have a style you like and you want to generate the video out of it, you can use the batch image to image. Super easy. just click on batch image to image. It's going to ask for your input directory and your output directory. So find the folder wherever you have all your PNG sequences that you exported from After Effects, and go ahead and just right click and copy that path and put it in your input. And then you want to create an output. So I'll create a new folder. I'll name it AI output 4, and then I'll copy that path and I'll paste it in here. And then simply all you have to do is click generate, and it'll apply this style onto every frame in your image sequence. Easy as that. All right, guys, so you generated your batch AI videos. Let's put them back in After Effects, and let me show you some tricks on how you can optimize things, how you can create cool effects with these AI images. In your project bed in After Effects, you want to right click and you want to go to import multiple files, and then you want to find your batch image process that you generated from Stable Diffusion. I'm going to load in this one and then click done. Pretty cool. Like I said, if there's a lot going on in the background, since every image is going to be different, it can get a bit jittery. Also keep in mind things that AI might have some trouble with, like hands. For best results, you need to have some planning. It's always going to depend on your input footage. So don't expect this to be a miracle as of now. Think back to those examples I showed you earlier. Having things as simple as crisp can give you the best possible results if you're trying to make something like a sci-fi film, a horror film. And let's drag in our PNG sequence here. And you'll notice here, the size is different because I generated a smaller size so that it would generate faster. You guys can, of course, generate 1920 by 1080. It'll just take longer. Let's go to our original footage. We're going to double click on it so that we're in a layer. And then I'm going to grab my roto brush tool, and I'm just going to do a quick little roto brush so that I can separate my subject from the background. So pretty simple. Just use your green brush to make that selection. You can hold down Alt to use your red brush to remove, and just try and get this purple line around your subject as best as possible. Now we can just move frame by frame and make sure that this purple line doesn't screw anything up. So let's go ahead and just take this bar and place it to where our AI sequence ends. And then we'll click freeze. All right, so back in our composition, and now you see we have our background removed. So you have a ton of options with this setup for what you can do. We can take our AI video, place it beneath our original footage, and just turn it on. And now you can see our original footage with our AI generated background. So if you just want to change the background, you could easily do that. Or alternatively, you could take your AI footage here. We could just mask out the subject and create a little freeze frame effect. There's unlimited ideas you guys can do to mix and match these types of footage. If you guys just scroll through my channel, you're gonna find tons of different examples for ways where you can blend footage, where you can create different effects. So I recommend you just go through and find something you like, experiment with it. So we'll move one frame, Control-Shift-D, and we'll click M and remove the mask off of here. And then we can right click on this little frame that we masked out, go to time and freeze frame it. That way we can give it as much duration as we want. So we'll take this little freeze frame sequence and place it above, bring back our background. And there you guys go. You can get some crazy freeze frame pop-in transitions. Let me toss in an animation preset from my newest preset pack, put in teleport stomp. And that way we can have that freeze frame transition sort of animate in and then lead us into our AI composition. So really cool. I think you guys can get really creative with something like this. And I think it can make for a really cool music video effect with unlimited different styles that you guys can pull from. Just using some simple After Effects masking, a little bit of effects to implement that AI sequence into our After Effects composition. Really cool. You guys could pop into Premiere. Now Premiere allows you to open up image sequences. So if you want, you can import in the original video from here. Or if you guys are working with that After Effects workflow, what I like to do is just click on this button in your project bin, create a transparent video, give that some space, and then just right click and click replace with After Effects composition to create a little dynamic link. Then you guys can just drag in anything you want from After Effects to pop up into Premiere, like our image sequence. And you can even change around and trim it to the work area. So we'll file save, and back in Premiere, let's scale this up. And back in Premiere, you guys can see where you need to cut based on this sort of checkering, like that. So in Premiere, what I like to do is right click and go to speed duration. And I like to change the speed to something around like 60, and then change the time interpolation to optical flow. Then we can select it, sequence, and render the selection. And there you guys go. You get something a lot more smooth and a bit less jittery. There can be some artifacts, especially if there is a ton going on. You guys can play around with the speed. If you want something a bit more slow, maybe to match the vibe that you're going for, this can be a great option. And of course, you could also do something like hold down Alt, click to duplicate that in a video layer above, select the top, and we'll go to our effect controls and just grab our pen tool. We'll just kind of blur out the background by adding feather to our mask, and then by adding a blur onto the bottom layer. Then increase the feather here, smooth that all out. Then you can keyframe your mask path. There you go, a bit less overwhelming. All right guys, and the last method you can do if you don't like the jitteriness of the AI video is you can use Stable Diffusion with Ebsynth. I showed an example of this at the start of the video, and I've made a ton of different tutorials using Ebsynth in the past. So I'm gonna go ahead and link one of those tutorials down below so you can have a full step-by-step guide on how to use Ebsynth. You only have to create a few frames with Stable Diffusion, maybe even one frame depending on your input footage, and then Ebsynth will paste that style design onto your original footage as best as possible. Super cool, highly recommend you check that out. Again, link down in the description. So hope you guys did enjoy this video. Again, I think that this is something that's going to be game changing. We're still in the infancy of a lot of these tools, but I think that as time goes on, we're going to see these used to save time, to help indie filmmakers. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more. Things can get very confusing when it comes to actually creating these animations, so I'm definitely down to create some more tutorials showing you how to work them into After Effects, how to into Premiere, and even into your 3D softwares like Blender, C4D. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting, and I'll see you guys in the next one.